Yo, Kpaceguy here, what's going on YouTube? Welcome back to the channel, and welcome back to another cool little video. So, I told you guys when I first got my Marantz 7705 that I was going to try out that Audyssey app that you can use for both Denon and Marantz audio products, receivers, and preprocessors if you'd like to. So right now, I just bought this last night. I went ahead and bought the app, and I've read reviews on it, and honestly, I don't know what to expect. Some people say that it's good and it works well, and a lot more people actually say that it's garbage. So we're gonna find out right here in this video. I'm not sure if there's any videos of this on YouTube. I haven't actually looked, but in case there's not, I'm gonna go ahead and post it on my channel now. Please forgive me, I will have to hold the camera at times because my tripod is being held by the microphone. So right now, what we've done, I'll pull it up on screen, but I have my phone down here. I have the app running, and once you run the app, it's going to turn your receiver on, and it's going to set up this screen here on your TV. On the receiver or the AV processor itself, it says mobile app. So right now it's going to walk us through how to set up Audyssey and probably give us the ability to change it. So I'm going to set the camera down here, point it at the TV as best as I can, and then I'm going to go through the app with you guys. So when you first boot up the app, you're gonna get basically the same process you get when you're calibrating it with your AV processor or receiver, whether it's Denon or Marantz. You're gonna go through the same steps that you're used to when you're setting up your microphone. So you're gonna want to put your microphone in its first position, run through Audyssey, test the subwoofers. It's gonna do all that basic calibration. And what's gonna be different at the end is gonna be when we can go back in and change the curve and do things like that. So this part right here is just gonna be making sure you place everything in the right spot, making sure you have it plugged in, making sure that you have your subwoofers on and at the right level. That same stuff that you're used to whenever you do a calibration as usual is gonna be the same startup when you start this app here. So I'm not gonna bore you with this part. I'll go ahead and run Audyssey off camera, and then we'll come back into the app and see what's going on. Alright guys, so we just finished doing the basic calibration that you're used to seeing. So I didn't show that part just because everybody's familiar by now with calibration. If you're not, I have posted a video of it before on my channel. But now we're into the part where we're going to start getting into some of the points of having this app, and we're going to see if it's worth it. So of course, after you're done the setting of Audyssey, just ask you if you want to use dynamic EQ, dynamic volume, and LFC, and you can read the description there and see what they do. Me personally, I turn off dynamic EQ. I also don't turn on dynamic volume either. And then LFC, I also don't use that. It's supposed to help keep the bass within the room, but honestly, it really just turns down the volume and kind of cuts off some of the lower frequencies. And I don't like that. So we're going to turn all that off, and we're going to hit next there. We're just going to call this living room setup. Living room setup. There we go. All right. Let's see what happens now. So the receiver just clicked off, it looks like. Actually, excuse me, it looked like it just went to a basic TV audio setup. So now we're gonna be pretty much done with the TV. I guess the TV doesn't really need to be used in the situation. So now on the app is where we're really gonna start to get into the nitty gritty. We're gonna see if it's worth it or not. Alright, so if you guys don't mind, I'm gonna take a seat right here, and we're gonna go through this app together. And so you can see the curve that it created based off of the information that it got from my microphone here. So let's check the speaker results here. What's really funny about the test when I was done, it told me that every one of my speakers were out of phase. And it's never done that when I used it without the app. So I'm not sure why that was, but I didn't change anything, but it did tell me that all my speakers were out of phase, and I know that I'm not that much of an amateur to make that mistake. So let's see what's going on here. It has my front as large, and I definitely don't like that. And my center's at large as well. I mean, I do have a large center, and I do have large fronts, but you want to run those at small because you want to have them crossed over at a good point so that your subs can take over. So we're going to edit that. We're going to change that down to the small, and we're going to leave the fronts at small as well. So my crossover point is also something interesting to note too. It has my fronts at 40, which I don't mind. They're pretty big, so I might leave it there. My center channel, though, I'm going to go ahead and put that to 60, only because my center channel is really just made for voices. It's just made for dialogue. And the human voice doesn't get much lower than 80 hertz. Some people talk lower, around 70 or so, but the majority of the men talk around the 75-80 hertz range, and females are of course way up there. So we're not going to need it to get that low. Same thing with my surrounds. I don't really need much bass coming from them, but they're capable of it. My front heights here, 120 is about right. My rear heights, those are my sound elevations from SVS, my prime elevations. 60 doesn't sound too bad at all, and then it has my subwoofer crossed at 40, which I'm going to go ahead and jump that back up to 120. Now the reason why I have it at 120 hertz is because there are actual bass tracks that include the subwoofer at 120 hertz. So I want my subwoofer to be playing all that it's capable of. And it has a nice little blend to it too with the front speakers, I noticed when I crossed it that high. So we're going to leave that as such, and we're going to click done. So my room correction results, let's see what all this is about. So this is what my room response in the green was looking like for my left speaker. It was all over the place. It had a huge spike around the 70-80 hertz range. It kind of dipped around the 100 hertz range, and then what Audyssey did was completely level that out as much as possible to give me a pretty smooth frequency response. So we're gonna have to listen to that and see how it sounds. And you can see that for each speaker, it tried to make it should be exactly the same on both sides. On the red line, on both speakers, should be exactly the same. So you can see on the green side what my room was causing my speakers to sound like, and then you can kind of see what Audyssey went in and did for me, which was to try to create a flat response. It's something that I said a long time ago in one of my videos. I told you that Marantz has a much flatter sound than Denon, which is why Denon was made for home theater and Marantz is made for music. It's because it has a much flatter curve. It wants to create a flat response across the entire speaker line. So you can see what it's done for my center channel. It drastically helped a lot there. As you can see, I had a giant spike up around that 70-80 hertz range, and it kind of knocked that back down there. Same thing for my surround. So you can see that it took I have a good roll off at the bottom of my hertz there, so that's pretty interesting. But you can kind of see what it's done for my sound system in real time there. So that's pretty cool to see. It's nice to see what it's done. And you can see the subwoofer, it kind of leveled out my frequencies around the lower ranges there, and then it's not going to be playing anything higher than 120 hertz, so it's going to roll off pretty quickly. So that's pretty cool to see. Mid-range compensation. So I'm guessing what that's going to do for you is if you have speakers that are very bass heavy around the 40 to 80, 90 hertz range, and you may experience a lot of bloatedness, a lot of muddiness in your sound from any speaker, you have the ability to turn this on, and it's going to taper back some of those mid-range frequencies so that it blends better with the highs and the lows. You don't get a whole bunch of mid-bass. It should sound better. So I'm going to leave it on to see what it does, and then I'm going to compare it later on in another video to see how it does when it's off. We'll figure out which one's the better setting. So let's check out the target sound options here. So what it wants to do is try to get you a flat response there. You can see that it wants to roll off the higher frequencies towards the 20 kilohertz range, so that it doesn't sound too harsh. Now my speakers are very warm as it is already, so I'm not going to get any harshness. So I may end up turning up that part of the frequency or just turning up the treble. My speakers are already very neutral. There's not a lot of sparkle to the top end, and it just lowered it down even more. So we'll have to see how that sounds. But now here's the curve editor, and this is where you're actually going to be able to go in and change your curve for each speaker. At the top right corner, you can see you can change any speaker you want to, which I think is going to be really cool for the subwoofer. Now it's going to be a mono kind of thing when you change your subwoofer. Even if you have 2 or more speakers, you can only change the curve for both of them the same, if that makes any sense. So I can't change this one separately from that one. We're going to be doing the same thing, which kind of stinks, because if this subwoofer is going to have a different characteristic than that subwoofer over there, being in a different part of the room. So the fact that I can't kind of edit to my liking kind of stinks, but that's alright, we'll leave that there for now. Now this is the MultiEq filter frequency range here. So you can see that it has that roll off between that 1K to 2K, 3K hertz range. That's that high roll off that it was talking about. It feels that my speakers need to roll off at the top of their range there. And again, I'm not sure if I agree with that, but again, I'm gonna listen to what it did first before I make any changes, and then we'll go back and see what the adjustments can do. Now the last one here is the Audyssey setting. That's back where I told you I was turning these off. I'm gonna leave these off. I know I don't like these. I've listened to them before on many different receivers that had Audyssey or anything of the sort. and I hate what they do to the sound. I absolutely don't like it. So I'm gonna leave that off. But guys, I just wanted to make a video for you and show you exactly what you can do with your system with this app. So far, so good. I can't say anything as far as sound-wise goes because I haven't listened to anything yet. But as far as functionality goes and what I can do with it, it's pretty cool. It's pretty nice to have this ability, especially for those who don't have, you know, an EQ wizard or anything like that, no software. This is not too bad for 20 bucks. So you can see here, you can create a new one here. So you can go back and redo Audyssey again and have 2 different presets. And I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna leave the living room setup for what Audyssey did for me, and then I'm gonna go back and make a new setup, and then I'm gonna tweak it to what I think it should be, and we're gonna compare the two and see which one sounds better. And of course, I'm gonna let you guys know. So that's gonna be it for this video, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. Just wanted to introduce this app. A lot of people asked me about the app, and I told you guys I would get it for you guys to see if you should get it or not. So far, it looks like it would be pretty beneficial to have, but of course, I wanna hear what it did first before I change it, so that I know if it's any good or not. So that's it for this video, guys. Stay tuned for next week's videos. I think I'm starting a subscriber showcase next week. I haven't decided yet. It might be next week, it may be the week after that, but nonetheless, it's coming up. So if your home theater is submitted in my email, be sure to be ready to see your home theater in my videos. And if you haven't submitted your videos to my email yet, make sure you do that. This is the last weekend I'm gonna do any submissions. So if you haven't submitted, xboxtube@live.com, send me your home theater and all your components if you have an amazing home theater and you want it to be shown here. And we'll see you guys in the next video. Kpaceguy out. Peace.